Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. It's Lasha. I'm going to get to the point really quick. My intro, to the point. I want you to watch this video. Think about where you were when the Queen Mother died. If you know anything about what's been going on with Prince Harry and Meghan, okay, think of this as like a split screen. So this is what went on behind the scenes. Then just watch this and I'll do my commentation after. I'm not going to have ADHD during this because I have all my notes in chronological order. But I am telling you, I was absolutely stunned when I came across this information. I don't have a tripod. Oh gosh, please don't break. Just a minute. Sorry, Sophie Ann. All right. And you know what? If you don't want to listen to me yap on at the beginning, just fast forward it. You don't have to listen, but you're going to want to listen. I don't yap on. I find good information. You need to watch this. You really need to watch this. If you're interested in the royal family, particularly the British royal family, and there's another, it's also about other royal families. And think about Harry, Meghan, everything that went on with them, all the revelations that came out in the end. Just 1 second here. Come on. Okay. I'll do my commentation tomorrow morning. Please watch this video if you have any interest in Harry and Meghan. Watch this. I'm going to give you my take based on everything that I've had the time to learn and study, okay? And it's from other YouTube channels, my own research and interviews I find like this.
When I got a phone call from the director of news at the BBC.
And believe it or not, these situations with the monarchies affect the world. Need I say Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein.
On a filming trip the next day.
It's trippy. Everything is intertwined.
I was in the Newsnight office because we had wind, obviously, with the note being passed through the House of Commons that something was happening.
I know I speak on behalf of the entire House when I say that we send our best wishes to Her Majesty the Queen, and that she and the royal family are in our thoughts and prayers at this moment.
And of course, there's this big protocol, so that obviously if the Queen had passed away, then Newsnight wouldn't be going on. But simultaneously, I was getting calls as we were waiting to see if this event was going to unfold. I got a call from Don McInnes, who was running the events coverage, and said, "Look, would you be able to get yourself to Balmoral?" So as soon as we heard that Queen had in fact died, Newsnight was obviously cancelled. So I got on the train and then rushed home, threw all the black clothes I could find in the car because I didn't know how long I was going to be away, and put the foot down in the car and sped to Balmoral. And it was extraordinary. So I was going through the most rugged countryside to get there. I was thinking, this is extraordinary. What a moment in history. I'm going through the long road at the Spittal of Glenshee thinking, this is part of history, not only for Scotland and the UK, but for the world.
My colleague Kirsty Walk is at the Queen's estate at Balmoral.
Yes, I think what you see behind me is almost in marked contrast to what was happening at Buckingham Palace, because hundreds of people have been coming forwards and backwards all day, laying flowers, making tributes, but there is an air of real peace and respect and dignity. When I got to Balmoral, it was just I went to find the BBC Point, and then it was just, can you get on air? You're taking over for this period of time, and that started to unfold where I was talking to people who were coming in, where they were coming from, a lot newer because of she, walking down the street in Ballater, where she walked regularly. A lot were local, and a lot knew a lot about Balmoral. Everybody brought their dogs. That was a great thing. Everybody had their dogs, and there were tiny children, and there were much older people, and there were people in wheelchairs. And this continued all through the day until I can remember I left at about 11:25. And there were still people coming with their iPhone torches in wheelchairs and walking to deliver flowers or just to stand and be there. So all through the day, I was really watching what people were doing and listening to them, and they're hardly talking. And they literally wanted to come, I think. I thought it was so incredibly moving. They wanted to come. Her relationship with Scotland was one of family, certainly. But it was also one of being at ease in the surroundings. Being a girl that had been at Balmoral since she was a baby. And in fact, I think there was a case that the Queen had only ever taken like 2 summer holidays anywhere other than Scotland. Her thread of ancestry goes all the way back to Robert the Brutus and then through Mary Queen of Scots and so forth. That, she was a truly Scottish monarch. She was Elizabeth I in Scotland because, of course, she wasn't Elizabeth II in Scotland, she was Elizabeth I in Scotland. But I think it was just about her sense of place and her sense of belonging. And I think she felt that sense of belonging very strong. Would come up and ask me, if they were Spanish or perhaps, from another country, would come up and ask me, well, what does this mean? What happens next? What's going to happen? Are the royal family going to come out? Are they going to look at the flowers? I mean, I didn't know that. I was keeping in close touch with the palace. And I kind of knew that the younger members of our family were really desperately upset. So I really didn't expect them to come out and look at the flowers and look at the tributes. So the members of the royal family have completed their service of prayer at Crathy Kirk, which of course is the kirk the family all knows so well. Sometimes when you're reporting a grieving family, it's important that grief be acknowledged. I think we are at a time of grief as a commentator or reporter. It's about choosing the moment to speak and not, as it were, blanketing the whole thing with your words. So I think you've got to be able to take a pause sometimes and let what you're seeing in front of you or having described to you unfold. Tonally, it's incredibly important not to be gushing. Who wants gushing, All I thought about was that this was someone's mother and grandmother. And last year, they lost their father and grandfather. And what we expect of them is to be so public. Grief is grief. Whether you're the richest person in the world or the poorest person in the world, it's grief. And I think everybody that watched those young royals at that gate that day was thinking that. I was very moved, yeah. I wouldn't like to have to do that. And then there was a moment where, as they went back through the gates, the grandchildren, the children of the grandchildren, stood and turned and waved at the crowd, and the crowd waved back. It was amazing. I'm also conscious when you're reporting on grief-stricken times and events, you can reflect their grief. You can empathize with the grief because you've had your own grief with parental death, but it's not your grief. So I don't like emoting particularly. So I'm very conscious of taking a step back, not in any form of coolness or anything, but allowing the story to unfold itself. I think the thing that will always, I can tear up now, always makes me cry is pipes. when the pipes came down from Edinburgh Castle, it was what was really extraordinary for me, and I do love the pipes, is that I went from the funeral of the Queen to the wedding of my daughter, where there was a piper. Because it's so much part of Scottish culture. Punctuating big moments. You're there to do your job, and your job is you're on the whole time. But they're actually on air the whole time. You're thinking, you're writing things, you're thinking phrases, you're checking facts all the time. There's still the producer in me that's trying to grab people and get people to come up to the microphone and tell their stories and do all that running around stuff, which I like. Trying to find food. Food was difficult. Going to the loo, finding a porta cabin, being there from morning till night. Everybody's really passing each other bits of food. Bananas were good. I think a lot of people came to Scotland hoping that they would be able to file past and see the Queen here, thinking that actually the crowds would be so great. When the coffin was brought up the Royal Mile to St Giles, that was an extraordinary time, with the children walking behind it. And I thought, this place has witnessed May Queen of Scots, it's missed John Knox, it's seen so many things. And now it is seeing probably the royal moment of the century.
And were you on air whilst that was happening?
Yes. We were on air, and intermittently with London, and then doing the 6 and the 10 o'clock news as well. You were scribbling on a piece of paper, because I'm afraid that's all you had.
The Queen was a symbol of stability, continuity, a symbol of strength, and almost the last line of defense against the shattering of this country. And I saw an element of that shattering during COVID. And I will never forget the Queen's broadcast where she said,
"We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again."
in moments of crisis, she kept us together. And I think it's important, even for Republicans, to remember that. I was never introduced to her, but I was in the same room as her. She was, I don't know, maybe 2 meters, 3 meters away from me. It was in South Africa. I was the Africa correspondent, and she was there for a Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Durban. But my mother, who was a school teacher in Jamaica before I was born, she led out the school party to meet the Queen.
The Queen, who is the guest of the Governor Sir Hugh Foot during her stay, visits Sabina Park, where 35,000 schoolchildren wait to welcome her. Their eyes shine with excitement. Their Queen has come from a far-off land to see them. It is a moment they will cherish all their lives.
I spoke to my mum a couple of nights ago. She said that, she was really sad that the Queen had died. What did she say? She said the brightest jewel in the crown jewels is no more. And my dad told me that he cried when he heard that the Queen had died. I said, yeah, you felt that much emotion? He said, yeah, because she never had a bad word to say about anyone. He never heard her say anything bad about anybody. And in an age where, mouthing off is what you do to get attention on so many levels, Queen never did that. And he respected that.
There is no doubt in my mind that if the Queen could have chosen somewhere, it would have been Balmoral. And in fact, obviously her health was, failing, and she was always at Balmoral for that period in the summer. So maybe you don't know what happens when people are near death. You don't know what happens. And you don't know if it's just a letting go. And it is possible that that's where she wanted to let go.
What does she mean to you?
It's like my mum, who died a number of years, exactly the same age as her. Exactly the same age as her. And spookily looked slightly like her. And so I think that idea of generationally, knowing where my mum was coming from, knowing where the Queen was coming from, I think she has been the most extraordinary negotiator for this country. The diplomat par excellence.
So how do you wind down after this, especially given that personally there's a lot going on with your daughter's wedding?
I drove back to Glasgow. I put my black clothes away. I filled the car with all the flowers and candles and everything that we were taking to my daughter's wedding and drove up to St Andrews.
Mad week in the office.
Mad week.
While there is a lot of planning, obviously, you plan as much as you can for most eventualities. I'm not sure it was clear the proclamation was going to be televised.
Good morning to you, Sophie. There's a little bit of a chill in the air here. The cloud of early morning has been shifting, moving above us, but thankfully the incessant rain of the last few days that greeted the passing of the Queen is no more.
When it became clear that it was going to be televised, then, preparations had to be put in place in order to do that, because it is the public declaration that Charles is king. Obviously, as soon as the Queen passed away, Charles did become king, but the public declaration of that came at the proclamation ceremony. That was the day before that I was told, well, you're going to go to Friary Court to cover this moment that's never been televised, that has never been made public, what goes on inside that room. Just do a bit of research and hope you get it right.
And on the balcony there, the trumpeters, the state trumpeters of the household cavalry and the sergeant at arms will make the first and principal proclamation.
You're talking about an ancient ceremony that goes back hundreds of years. But outside, you had a load of people who wanted to see the spectacle, who had selfie sticks and iPhones. So there was a sort of, a weird sort of mix there between the ancient and the modern. At the end of the day, a proclamation of a new king, you're remembering to a degree the former monarch, the Queen who's died, and indeed it is also where Prince Charles first officially declares to the world that his mother has died.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, it is my most sorrowful duty to announce to you the death of my beloved mother, the Queen. I know how deeply you, the entire nation, and I think I may say the whole world, sympathize with me in the irreparable loss we've all suffered. It is the greatest consolation to me to know of the sympathy expressed by so many to my sister and brothers, and that such overwhelming affection and support should be extended to our whole family.
It's actually the moment to be looking forward. And that tempered the way that I covered the story. It was slightly less somber than if I was talking about the Queen's death. I mentioned that I brought my own phone up to take a picture because no one's ever been present at this moment.
And there's about 1,000 people here, and as soon as the trumpeters came out on the balcony just before the proclamation, a huge ooh went right through the crowd. Everyone ready for that proclamation of a new king. And I have to say, I got my phone out too.
And I felt that tone was right for that moment because you're looking forward. You then go back to the ceremony and the pageantry of the Queen's death itself, the lying in state, the lying at rest in Edinburgh, and the tone shifts back
aldermen and citizens of London and others, do now hereby, with one voice and consent of tongue and heart, publish and proclaim that the Prince Charles Philip Arthur George is now, by the death of our late sovereign of happy memory, become our only lawful and rightful liege lord, Charles III.
What did you take a picture of?
The trumpeters. And then, you know, the guy in all the regalia coming out and saying, proclaiming that King Charles III is King Charles III. That's when all the selfie sticks went up in the crowd. Because, you know, someone publicly declaring, you know, long live the king, when that hasn't been said since 1952 in this country, in the United Kingdom. That's quite a moment.
3 cheers for His Majesty the King! Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip!
One has got used to sort of having a ringside seat to various, you know, huge events. And I do take that responsibility, you know, pretty seriously, that I am, you know, the viewer's eyes and ears on a particular story.
Tonight at 10, Russia warns it will launch strikes on the capital, Kiev, telling residents to leave their homes.
And it's important that there is someone who is doing that. So it might as well be me.
Liz is here, Chief International Correspondent. Latest information explains why we're all down here in the basement.
Yes, life has gone literally underground in Kiev. It's this.
You try to find the objective truth. And it's not about my bias or my ideas on Russia or Ukraine or whatever. One country invaded another and it shouldn't have done it. That's the story. And that's how you report it. You find the objective truth.
And stay with us here on BBC News when...
Is there anything you do differently with hindsight?
Not that I can think of.
Damien Grammaticus is standing by at Buckingham Palace. Damien, the news a little bit earlier on today that the doctors in Scotland were concerned about the Queen's health coming as Liz Truss was making a rather important statement concerning the future of energy bills. That, of course, insignificant now, given the gravity of the situation we seem to be experiencing with Her Majesty.
We saw that you tweeted about the line around the cost of living. Like, is there anything that you sort of do differently?
No. People see what they want to see. Read what they want to read. If people don't think the best of you and they read into what they read into because they're reading into it the way they want to, there's nothing you can do about that. And that's something that doesn't concern me in the slightest. Everyone can have an opinion. Anyone can have an opinion. Opinions are to a penny. It's finding that truth that perhaps the majority of people can agree on, and that's vital, absolutely vital, because we are in this big debate about the role of not just of the monarchy now, but the role of the BBC. You know, the license fee and so on and so forth. But if we're not trying to find an objective truth, I'm not sure what the point of us is.
Who do you imagine is watching when you're thinking about how you're delivering news and the tone that you're using?
Me. You know, I'm thinking about me at home watching. You know, what is it that I would expect from an organisation like the BBC in covering a story like this? What would I expect? I think about how I would feel, actually, a lot of the time. And that has been, frankly, a lodestar throughout my career in judging, trying to judge the mood when covering stories.
Okay, what does this have to do with us? Why should we care? What's the panoramic view and perspective? It's okay to disagree. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I live in Grimsby, Ontario, Canada. At 1 o'clock, I'm going to put together some clips, not only of the history of the monarchy, but how the monarchy affected societies during those different increments, 50 years, a century and a half, way up to 1,000. And then we need to take a real deep dive into Lady Diana, why William is the way he is from a therapeutic perspective, and also from a layman, and also somebody who was totally ignorant to the royals until Meghan Markle and Harry came into the equation. I do remember where Diana was I remember where I was when Diana passed away. I couldn't believe it. I'm sure you all remember. I'm going to be 52. I remember watching Lady Diana's wedding because my cousin was obsessed with the royal family. My grandmother loved the Queen. And I've been exposed, like many other people, to different cultures. I might not be academically intelligent. However, based on all of the channels that I've shared and all of my videos, like The Exorcist turning her head in a circle, but like an angel exorcist, because I'm not a demon. I've also done a couple of Russian gypsy tarot reads, but I haven't posted them on the Talking Tarot Therapy Entertainment because it's freaky, but they're pre-taped. But the dates and the times are all there. But I'm going to start from the beginning of colonialism up until Americans started to leave. The 3 different channels and their objectives. My objective tomorrow is to tell you in an explanatory, factual way the history of monarchs for dummies. Not that I'm a dummy or you're a dummy. I'm just going to get to the point up to the Harry situation. I don't even want to say her name. She doesn't deserve our attention. Harry's the one that we need to talk about, not her. I'm not even going to mention that woman's name because it's not worth it. You know what? If you don't want something to exist, just stop talking about it. She's not what matters. It's Harry's choices that matter. And the effect on it's having in society today. How that Harry situation and all of the lies behind it affected my personal situation. And I'm so tired of people saying, I understand you have to let things go, but if you feel at the bottom or the top or the middle if you feel a contagious urge constantly that the right thing needs to be done, then you have to do it and at least try. And if it doesn't work, well, then stop. Don't kill yourself. Maybe something will happen to somebody else and that person will do something about it to make a change. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. I need to watch it again. There are so many other videos and articles I need to go through to make this tomorrow's live stream at 1. And now I've never done a live stream where I've actually said, people participate, please. If you're interested in the royal family and history and the Harry situation, Tom Bauer, and why we are where we are, and why there's a pocket of YouTubers where you can go down a rabbit hole with this stuff, join me tomorrow at 1 o'clock. You won't regret it. Oh, and happy Saturday. HS.